Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. I got my boys here from the Unfiltered Longhorn Talk, Vashawn and Chris. We got a lot of stuff to cover today. I'm gonna go pretty quick here in the intros, but excited to be doing a live. Excited for everybody tapping in. As you guys come into the chat, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. You need to be subscribed to be a part of the chat and represent here. So I'm just excited to talk some ball today and collaborate with you guys. Speaking of ball, directly relates to our brand new sponsor, Autograph. Guys, if you guys saw my last video, we just got started up with a really, really cool app. It is available on the Apple or on the App Store, where we have an app where you have the ability to follow Texas football, all Texas sports on this app and earn credit for your fandom. You earn points, all sorts of things that give you access to potentially buying things at a discounted rate, like tickets, merch, what you can think of. And as you progress in those layers and utilize the app for things you already do, what does that mean? Hey, if you read an article on any of the Texas sites, if you watch a video like this one on the Autograph app, you get points for it. If you listen to a podcast, our boys Rod Babers and all the stuff they do, but you listen to Bobby Burton through the app, you get points and get rewarded for fandom. This is an app that was started by Tom Brady. They launched it for Michigan. Incredible feedback and output. They actually, some folks were able to get some discounted tickets to the Rose Bowl, some opportunities to get to the national championship game for the people that were really earning a lot of points. So opportunity to get rewarded for your fandom. Check out Autograph. Use that promo code Fanatic24 to get into the app. It is invite only, but check out Autograph. It is well worth it. You're already doing everything that's on the app, so trust me on that. Vashawn, I'm going to start with you, man. So, we're going to talk a lot about the offseason in this group coming up, but real quick, since I haven't had you brothers on since the season ended, real quick, just your final thoughts on 2023 playoff loss that ended to the Washington Huskies in the Sugar Bowl 12-2 season, where we finished as Big 12 champions as we leave. Now heading to the SEC. Just your overall thoughts with Sark's crew in year 3.
Man, it hurt, but let me start from there. We haven't been there since 2009. To get an opportunity to play for the national championship in over, I don't know, what's that, 13 some years? That's an awesome achievement. Proud of the team. Guys hung in there. They actually excelled over my expectations. I got to say that. I had us winning the Big 12 championship, at least playing for it. But man, I am, I am very proud of the guys and what they did. Great job. So hats off to the whole coaching staff. Hats off to the players, man. They played their butt off. But to get there, and I believe, we in the way we lost it, that kind of hurt a little bit. Don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer, but sometimes, getting there is not easy. And you got to make the best of your opportunity. A lot of people say, oh, we'll be back. We'll be back. Nothing is guaranteed. And that's why I love what Sark's doing now. He's continuing to build, and But other than that, man, it took me almost 3 weeks to watch the replay. I got it on TV now. I didn't want to look at it, but as I went back and looked at it, we had an opportunity, fellas, to win that game. The fumbles killed us. I mean, there's a bunch of things, but the fumbles definitely hurt us. Fumbles are part of the game, but you can't make mistakes when you're playing a good team like Washington. And I believe we don't fumble. We win this game easy. Either a great pass from Quinn at the end of the game, we still win with the 2 fumbles. So, man, nothing to be ashamed of. I appreciate, like I say, man, hold my head up. SEC, here we come. We're going to do our thing. And Sark's building this baby to win long term, long time. That's it.
Chris, your thoughts, man. How do you think we wrapped up?
Man, I was very proud. I mean, mean, you get that far, you want to finish the fight. You know, it's everyone had Georgia, everyone had everybody above us getting in. You know, and we were strong at the right time towards the end of the year in the conference. You know, and then the conference championship, and everything happened the way it needed to happen for us. As far as that game, I'll be honest with you. After Washington got the ball first and scored, and the way they looked like immediately, and then the way our first drive went, I just kind of I went from like, hey, we're going to win this game, we're going to win this game, to like, I'm not saying that I was conceding a loss or anything by all means, no. But same time though, just something about reality just started kicking in, and that second drive we got into 21 personnel, and man, like we were cooking. You know, everything was looking good. But one thing happened that we're not really talking about with that is that so us being in 21 personnel, if you look at, the previous weeks towards the end of the year, once we got in 21 and was looking really good with it, obviously Blue and Baxter were doing a great job. They were doing their roles very well. But Keelan Robinson was amazing towards the end of the year. And this is something I've never heard one person say since that game. If you look at those last 2 or 3 games of the year in the regular season, where there was a Tech game and then the conference championship game, Keelan Robinson coming in as a wingback, coming in motion, getting the ball. I mean, he scored a couple times. He had a couple of big runs. He had a 50, 60-yard touchdown against Oklahoma State, which I know they saw. So whenever he just like all of a sudden breaks his hand or arm, and all he can do is just be out there on the kickoff team, which I wouldn't even have had him out there trying to do that. I think that kind of hurt us a little bit, because it's kind of like, okay, you're going to run 21 personnel, but you're only going to have two backs that you trust to put in the game. We could have ran 21 pretty much the whole game, 70, 80% of the time. Had we had and I think that was the right personnel to get them, you know. And another thing with the fumbles, yeah, the fumbles hurt us, but like I think our scheme in the first half offensively kind of hurt us, because we felt like we were more behind than what we were. Those running backs were trying to make up for plays that, they get the ball, there's like, man, I'm gonna score. And don't get me wrong, I was upset when they fumbled, when Baxter fumbled and then Blue. I mean, you were just like, man, we're so close, we're so close. But those young men were trying to make a play because they didn't get the ball for the longest time. In the first half, after those first couple of runs, I was sitting with my buddy Tommy and my buddy Gus, and I was just like, man, if we run the ball 30 rushes, we win this game. I don't care how they throw in the ball. The game will slow down for us. Man, it never did the way it needed to. But you know what? Honestly, at the end of the day, I am so proud of those guys. I was upset for a little bit, but I wasn't that upset because, like I said, 10 minutes, 5 minutes into the game, I kind of just reality started kicking in. I just knew we were ready, but we weren't that ready. But I mean, I like what Sark's doing. I like what Sark's doing with the offensive line. Like, I mean, literally, I'm talking about us running over a team. Like when over the last 14 years, we could say that we're going to go and we need to run the ball and run over these guys to win. And our offensive line, we have the offensive line to do it. We actually have that offensive line, man. Both sides of the line of scrimmages. I'm happy with where we are. I mean, we have pass rushers now coming into 2024. I'm stoked, man. I mean, Sark could do no wrong in my eyes. He needs to continue to get better. But I mean, in my eyes, like he is the man. Like let's. I'm not ready to get the statue up for him yet, but
Well,
it's time.
hey, he got a bag though out of it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He
Oh
did.
yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
So so as I tie a bow on this, it's funny. Football is a funny sport, and a sport where so much happens upstairs. And for me, I mean, I've shared my perspective on this many times, but even watching the NFL playoffs, my perspective on how we lost our game in the playoffs has also changed, because you see teams, y'all, everybody's seen my rant on the Cowboys. I don't need to go through that again. But you see these teams that get in playoff games, even at the professional level, and like Chris said, just the slow start or a team coming out, momentum is so crazy in playoff games. It's so much more emotional. And to hold your water and to hold your head and to understand, guys, it's only a 2-score game. Stop freaking out, right? Let's play ball. Like, there's plenty of time left. We don't need to try to get it back in one play. Chill. Because we wouldn't do that in the regular season. In the regular season, you just keep playing and, naturally you get yourself back in the game just with the adjustments that get made, tempo. wearing down on the opponent. It's just a natural flow. But that anxiety kicks in. And I think you saw that anxiety happen all over the NFL playoffs. Saw in the Cowboys in the first round. Saw with the Packers in the second round when they were up in San Francisco. The Detroit Lions.
Yep.
Saw it happen with them. You saw it happen with Baltimore, where Lamar Jackson and them are acting like they're down by 3 touchdowns, and they're trying to go for the jugular every single time. This is where I'm really proud of Texas looking back at it. Texas didn't really approach the game like that when it felt like it was out of reach. They kept playing. And that's the reason why they had an opportunity to damn near steal that game. And so I'm proud of them because looking back at it, I'm like, they really shouldn't have been. I mean, I know we're talking about if we had done different play calls and things like that, but I'm like, they really, but because they didn't freak out,
Yeah.
because they kept playing ball, and that to me is a testament to the staff and the mental toughness of this program. When is the last time we've ever been able to say that about Texas, especially with all the money on the table? I think
Long
that's a
time.
big deal.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
going into 2024, you brothers got me excited. All right, staff changes. Look, folks, when you have a successful football program, and those of us who were around during the MAC days, this is something we were used to. People want who's on your staff, right? You start having, Sark talks about you promoting coaches getting promoted versus us having conversations about us trying to fire a coach, right? So
Yeah.
which one would you rather have? Obviously, Jeff Choate was somebody who came in here, previous head coach. We knew that, so for us to get 3 years out of Jeff Choate, I think was awesome.
Yeah.
He took the Nevada job before the playoffs even started, so we knew that was kind of where it was. And the Jeff Choate thing, to me, the way we lose Jeff Choate and the way we lose Bo Davis is two completely different realms. Obviously, we bring in Johnny Nansen, who is Sark was very familiar with back in his USC and Washington days. He gets a co-DC tag. And then we have Kenny Baker, relative unknown, coming in to coach our defensive line, replacing Bo Davis. Do you guys want to start with the linebacker situation with Johnny Nansen, or do we want to dive into the Bo Davis stuff? Where do you want to go first, Vashawn?
We start with Nansen.
Okay.
Nansen, I believe is a good hire. He's like you say, he goes way back with Sark at Washington, USC. I looked him up. Man, he's brought in some great recruits. The Dory Jackson, and people just think he just recruit California. That's not true. He actually recruited Ronald Jones from North McKinney. Levi Jones, y'all remember him?
Yep.
Yep.
Tom Herman, Levi
Yeah.
Jones from
Westlake, right?
linebacker from
Linebacker.
Boston.
Yeah.
Linebacker from Boston. So Nancy can recruit, man, and him being a DC, that only adds. It just helps, another mind in the room to help PK game plan for other teams, and another thing that I like about it, he's young and man, he's tied in with the Samoan. I mean, he is Samoan, so he's tied in with the Samoan community. We're gonna start getting some of them guys, man, and them boys can play some ball on that D line. And even with the player that he brought, I can't pronounce his name. I was Salsa or whatever.
It's Savea, the last name. I know
Savea,
that,
my
but
bad,
the
Savea.
first name,
Excuse me if I butchered the
I don't
name.
even want to disrespect his name. I wish I had it written down. I
Savea.
hate when people do that to our name. So I
Yeah,
mean, we got to do better. My bad.
yeah. Savea, for him to bring him, he had him when he was at UCLA.
hmm
And when Nansen went to Washington, he brought Seville back. He brought him over with him. So that tells me a lot about Seville that he must can play. And but I think it's a great hire. And I'm gonna go on record and say this. I was looking at the linebackers that we're after right now, and he cast the net wide. He's offered linebackers in Texas. He got quite a few in California, and he even got a guy in Mississippi. I'm gonna go on record to say this, Steve. This might be the best linebacker class Texas has brought in a long time. Why I can say that, I don't know. I just got that feeling. Cause one thing with the hype Texas has, the hype that we have already from the playoffs, going into the SEC, we are now. I mean, you got to think kids from all over the country had the University of Texas in their living rooms watching it,
Yep,
wanting
New
to be a
Year's
part
Day.
of this,
Mhm.
you know, and to have 8 or 9 guys, and I know we're going to talk about this a little later, but to have 8 or 9 guys that could potentially be drafted, I don't know how you guys. I don't know how you guys don't understand how big that is when you got a position coach or whoever go sit in the living room talking to a parent. Most recruits, when they 17-year-old kids, all of them got pro aspirations.
Mhm.
All of them. Yeah, they want a degree, but most of them like, yeah, eventually I want to go to NFL. Man, that's big when you can sit down in the NFL, in a room with a parent and just say, yeah, hey, we got Jalen Ford over here, and we developing. He's going to be a second, third, fourth round draft pick. And when the draft do happen, which is in April, I'm expecting Nansen to clean up, man, because once those names get called that day, Nansen is going to hit. He's always been everywhere he's been. Steve, he's been a rainmaker, a rainmaker. And one thing I can say though, we will miss uh, the previous coach because I mean the linebackers get better every year to their run fits and everything. Uh, but I believe Nansen is he'll be he's up for the job. I really do believe that. Um, you know, I'll let Sim talk a little bit about him, and we can talk about the D tackle coach whenever y'all
No,
ready.
no,
Yeah.
I'll just add this one note before Chris goes. We'll stick with
Mhm.
Nansen for right now.
Okay.
I will say this: of our peers that made the playoffs, continuity is we're actually blessed.
Yeah.
I mean, the other three people lost their head coaches,
Mhm.
so we still not only have our head coach who we extended, but we still have our offensive coordinator. We still have our primary defensive. We have both of our play callers, right? Still have the same S&C coach. Continuity in terms of our program. And I say that to address Fahim's statement here about, the excitement around recruiting, but I'm focused on how they will fit with the culture here and keeping up development.
Mhm.
The best way you can do that is through continuity and guys buying in. It's year 4, right? It's year 4 now. And those are the same people we've had across the board. Yes, we've had different wide receiver coach, we've had a different running back coach here and there. Now we have a D line, some of those things, but the primary players are still in place. So just something to emphasize. Your thoughts on Coach Nansen, Chris, before we move on to the Bo Davis stuff?
I'll be really quick with it, but I like a couple things for this hire. For me, the fact that I was looking at his resume, he's coached offense. He's coaching the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you coached on both sides of the ball, I mean, basically you see it at a different level. I mean, I think that's why Raheem Morris got another chance. He's in 2020, I think 2020 or 21, one of those years he was coaching receivers, for a year, which is random, Um, Another thing I like about Nansen is the same thing I liked about Jeff Choate is the fact that we're getting a guy who is coming in to coach our linebackers that at a lot of other D1 Power 5 places, he could be a coordinator or he could be a head coach in a smaller Division 1 place, The fact that our coach is not there's not like a or a Tom Herman in 2020. There's not a Charlie Strong in 2016 where should I take that Texas job because we're probably coaching for our lives or can I come in like that's the difference. When you don't have to worry about your coach getting fired, you're going to get any coach you
You
want.
mean like Sterling Gilbert and Mike
Oh my
Yursich?
goodness.
Come
Wow.
save
Yeah.
me. Come
Yes.
save me.
Yes. Yes. And
It's
then
a
poor
big difference.
Yosich, he
It
came
is a
in and
big
Tom
difference.
Herman was doing the same thing. It was just like, man. But I mean, when you ain't got to worry about that, you can get the best coach. Longhorn Nation was freaking out a week ago and they're kind of freaking out a little bit because I guess Kyle Flood's name's been in some coaching, chances. I think he's gonna stay. He's got his family is established and where he wanted to be in Austin. That's a great job. Austin's a great city to live in, like we've said. But I think honestly, man, the fact that like if he were to take another job, as great as and as good as offensive line coach that he is, and he's probably the best offensive line coach we've had here in probably 18 years or so. Man, as good as he is, I think we would be able to find the next hot thing because we're not 1 year away because the roster's loaded. So I mean, Nansen, I'm just ready for him to come in and like you said, his recruiting, where he's going to be able to recruit. It's not just California; he's going to be able to recruit all over. There's Samoan communities in cities and states that you would never realize, had great Samoan communities with great football. He's going to be able to get that, and then in 2 and 3 years, he's going to go and take his job. And we're going to have the next guy. So I'm looking forward to see what he can do for us.
Guys, I've talked on this channel a lot about coaches improving. I gave my flowers to Sark in the last video, talked about how he has improved on and off the field as a coach. This is exactly what we're talking about. We talk about player development. Coaching development is the same way. I'm glad you used the Raheem Morris example because he was a guy that got a job very early in his career. And they thought he was going to be like another Mike Tomlin. Things didn't work out. He, like you said, he's now coached all over the place. You cannot tell me that he is not a more effective coach. He does not have a better understanding of both sides of all aspects of the game, right? And relating to personnel. So something to keep in mind as we're having these conversations. Richard Mergler said, do y'all anticipate a shift in defensive strength from our front to our secondary? Some incredible talent is coming in for the latter. Or do y'all think there will be parity between the two? I'll just say this. You're losing Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. They were the two best defensive tackles in the country. I don't care how good we are next year. That's a loss. Okay. I also know that there was an emphasis to improve the speed and athleticism in that back, especially at safety. There's no doubt about it, and we are considerably better and more talented there. And on top of that, and we're getting ahead, but getting Jahdae Barron to come back and to play with the Andrew Makuba and some of the things that they're going to be able to do. They're going to be able to do some really, really cool stuff in the secondary in terms of man zone, split field coverages. They're going to be able to run some NFL stuff next year. I promise you, just with the talent they have back there and the experience. But if you guys want to answer this question that Richard has for us.
Well, I kind of agree with you. But I'm gonna answer like this. It depends. I think it's going to be another run on either on one more D tackle or maybe two at the next portal opening, and that depends on what we lose. Also, guys, don't think we're going to keep everybody at the next portal opening. Some guys are going to see where they're at on the depth chart and they're going to jump in. But if we can land, especially one of them D tackles out of Michigan, oh my goodness.
Well, we need to run stubborn.
Yeah. If we can get us one more nose guard, we'll be fine. And I'm talking about a good one, especially that big boy from Michigan. But on the cool, what Steve just said, getting Jahdae back and adding Mabuka, man, that strengthened the secondary. Then you got a 2-year starter, Terrence Brooks. You got a Malik Muhammad in his second year. You still got Gavin Holmes is back, right, Steve? Gavin Holmes stayed, right?
Yeah.
Gavin Holmes, and then you're bringing in Kobe Black. You're bringing in all these
young
freshmen,
guys.
all of these young guys that are long
Derek
and fast.
Williams is in year 2.
Derek Williams in year 2. My boy Taft Daddy. Taft Daddy's smart, man. Don't discount Taft.
Oh, right.
That back end will be it'll be good. But guess what, though, guys? And I think somebody else said it. It's the pass rush. They are married to the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
We have to get better on the edges. We're not going to have a Byron Murphy like we did because Byron Murphy was putting pressure up the middle. That's why he's getting first, top 10, top 15 picks. People say, why is he jumping so high? I was like, If you go turn on the tape, turn
His
the
win
tape
Right.
rate.
on,
His
you will
win
see
rate.
what those scouts are seeing in Byron Murphy. We were just blessed because Sweat was a great D tackle. We just always looking at Sweat. He got a lot of the hoopla. Byron Murphy just quietly did his job. But now when the tape's turned on, because that's what scouts do for a living, they're like, oh my goodness, Texas had this. But anyway, getting back to my point, if Trey Moore and all of them coming in, even a Colin Simmons can help out on the edge, and plus what we already got, Ethan Burke, so Sorrell, it should definitely make that secondary very, very strong.
I want to make a point about the secondary with that too. I have a question for you guys, and for anyone who's writing in, listening. Me, Vashawn, a couple weeks ago, we were having a conversation. In fact, the day of that Cowboy playoff game against Green Bay, we were on one of our calls, and we were talking about the secondary moving guys around, and with Jody Barron coming back and saying he wants to play corner. All right,
Mhm.
this is something we never thought about. Would you have Brooks at one corner? Would you put Barron at the other? Would you put your two safeties as Andrew? Is it Makumba? What's his last
Yeah,
name?
Makuba.
Is it
Makuba.
Makumba and Derek Williams? And I got a question. Man, Manny Muhammad is very talented. Since he's put on weight, since he's gotten on campus, he's put on 10 to 15 pounds already. The guy looks like he wants to be in the gym. He looks like he's going to grow some more. Could you guys see Muhammad at the star? He's physical enough. Big time. I think our secondary, and like you said a little while ago,
Mhm.
our secondary, like our coverages need to match what's going on up front. I think when Gary Patterson was here, it was looking like that. Last year, there were times where it did. There was times where it just didn't. It didn't look like it at all. But like, what do you guys think of Manny Muhammad at the star a little bit? I think he has the size. I think he has the explosiveness. He's not afraid to tackle it all. I think Jody Barron got hurt. Jody Barron's a little smallish, and I think that's why he was. That's playing the slot. Whether you're playing a slot receiver in the
Mhm.
Big 12 or playing a slot corner anywhere, you're going to get banged up. Literally, it's you got to be a certain size. So, what do you guys think of that?
Vashawn,
Well,
you can go first.
okay. Sip, I know he said he came back to play a little bit of corner, but I
Yeah.
think they're gonna. I be honest with you, I think they're gonna keep him at star. When
Okay.
Mabuka came, because I thought at first when Jade was gonna leave, Mabuka was gonna slide in the star. Then when Jade said he's coming back, then he's like, "Oh, I want to play corner." Like you said, now if they do put him there, you got to put somewhere else because you got Terrence Brook at corner, Malik Muhammad at corner, Jade, where you gonna play? I'll be honest with you, I think they gonna stick him at star, but I think they're gonna allow him to also play corner. One of the great things about Texas, and I think that Texas improved, was playing too deep. I was talking to a guy earlier, and I say, "Hey, how much Derek Williams played this year?" He's like, "Oh, he played a lot." I said, "You wouldn't even know that he didn't start, huh?" You know what? I didn't think about that. He played so much. I said because Texas runs a true too deep,
Yeah.
true too deep. You don't know. You look at it. I mean, Muhammad played so much last year. Manny Muhammad, he only started one game. I think against Texas
Yeah.
Tech.
Yep.
Manny Muhammad started one game. Who else? I mean, Derek Williams played. We rotated our safeties a lot. So especially on our D tackles, Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton, they played 40% of the snaps. Texas plays a true too deep. And I believe that Jade will get his time at corner. But like you say, it's interesting. Now they got the pieces to mix and match with just depending on the matchups they got. So I like the idea what you just said. Don't get me wrong, but I
Yeah.
do see them. I just think they're gonna keep him there, and then like work him in the corner, not start him at corner. You know what I'm
I also
saying?
like we've
Yeah.
talked about we talked about the last couple of times too. I like cross training guys. I like
Yes,
having
yes,
five guys out there, and then and you really don't know who's going to be. You could have anybody matched up anywhere. I like
yep,
confusing a defense like that.
yep,
And Shookwin said he'd keep Manny at outside corner. Cool. I'm not. I just want to get what everybody's agree with.
yeah,
What everybody thinks about it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just easy to pencil him in. Ryan Watts entered the draft, and that Manny just held it down over there, and
Really
that
did.
boundary spot, the way we use that. To your point, Chris, about run fits, Ryan Watts was a big part of our run fits
Yeah.
last year. So
He
you're
set
still
that edge.
heavily in. you're still heavily involved there. The thing about that too is that I don't want to take away something when a guy was sensational as a freshman and got a lot of confidence. I don't want to just I am with you on cross training because you never know what can happen. You never know when
Yeah.
the injury bug can hit. But I also don't want to screw up somebody's development because we just like flip them doing something else all of a sudden. I recall my conversations with Caden Stearns, and that's something that he was talking about. Cross training is a blessing and a curse depending on how it's done in
Yeah,
college
yeah,
under the circumstances, right? So the thing with Jade Barron, and we need to address this. Why did he come back to school? He had aspirations to go to the league. That's obviously a dream of his, but the feedback was speed. And I think some of them unfortunately looked at that Big 12 championship game tape. And I was not trying to attack. I love Jade. I'm a big Jade Barron fan, but he got exposed a little bit. And it's like some of the people in the NFL, when they say, can he run? They know he can run laterally. That's not my point. We know he can run at the line of scrimmage and play inside. They're talking about down the field. Can he run? Because it looked like he had some speed challenges on tape. So of course he's like, I want to play corner to try to
Yeah.
prove,
yeah.
right? To
To
improve
prove
his
it.
style.
Yeah,
That is a
He's got to get
natural
healthy too.
thing I would want to prove if I was him.
Yeah.
100%.
yeah,
I just think that you have to be careful and do that within reality of what's also best for the team, right? And so look, there's they still play that position in the NFL now. I mean, everybody's playing 11
yeah.
personnel and a whole
Oh
bunch
yeah,
anyway. So
yeah.
I'm not
He's
too
gonna get a
worried about
shot,
that.
man.
Absolutely.
Hey,
Absolutely.
Steve, just real quick, and I was just thinking about this, Sim. That dude, Texas had issues with bubble screens.
Hmm.
This cat, Jade Barron, and I'm gonna give him his flowers now.
Yeah.
Single-handedly, Longhorn Nation shut down bubble screens. Y'all know
By
that. We
himself.
always struggle
Hmm.
with bubble screens. Man, why they can't stop the bubble screen? Dude just completely shut. Teams don't even try that junk no more.
Don't you wish
When,
Washington would have tried some of that junk instead of what they
yeah,
were doing
I'm
against
like,
us?
he's a
I was
smart
hoping for a
player.
bubble screen, please.
I'm gonna tell y'all my assessment of Jade Barron, and I seen it when he was a freshman, when he used to come in and back up Josh Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
A+ coverage in zone because his eyes are so good.
Mm-hmm.
He goes down a little bit man to man.
Man.
That's it. That's all. I mean, that's just my assessment of it. But when you put him in the zone coverage, cover 2, cover 3, whatever, dude got great eyes, great hips. He knows where the ball at. But then when you kind of put him in man, that's where he struggles a little bit at. But he's still,
Completely agree.
yep, he's still a beast though. Still a beast when it comes to the bubble screens. You ain't throwing one his way.
Yeah.
So I don't want to lose that.
Yeah. Me neither.
Completely
Yeah.
agree. And it's not a personal, like, this is high level stuff we're talking about, right? And we're talking, he's trying to go from a fourth, fifth round pick to try to being a day two solidified, potentially even higher. So those are the things we're talking. At that point, we have to nitpick. It's heavily scrutinized. That's the most competitive level is the NFL draft. But for us, it's a blessing to get a
Yeah,
guy like that back in the locker room for our young corners, all the young DBs coming in, all the transfer portal guys coming in, the communication that he'll have on the field, like you said, eyes on QB and all the things he does, blitzing. He's one of our most underrated players. He has been one of the most underrated players. The Big 12 never gave him the recognition he deserved, in my opinion.
no, for
Never.
sure.
Never.
Yeah,
Never did.
It's the
And
yeah,
biggest screw job ever.
I think that was a recruiting win for Texas getting him to come back. There were some
most
guys where
definitely,
it's like,
most
hey,
definitely.
if you can get him to come back, I know they were working on Ryan Watts and they did the best they could there as well. But net, the defensive back situation at Texas, I mean, if you can't work with this group, then we got to have a conversation about who's coaching them, in my opinion.
I'd like to have that conversation. I'm not
John Wayne,
a.
I agree with you, brother. We got to start looking at the DB coaches, but that's for
Yeah.
another. Another
That's
story.
for another
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Because they've loaded the Sark. They've all loaded the
Ooh.
room up. There's no
It's
more
loaded.
excuses.
No more
Yeah.
It's
There's
excuses.
loaded.
no excuses.
No excuses.
None.
And I
None.
seen fans making excuses for a certain coach, and I said, okay, but he's out. He's out of excuses now.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
We got my boy BK and the crew over here from Texas Sports Unfiltered. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Y'all make sure y'all subbed up to their channel as well.
I
They
like
got
BK.
content going
Yeah.
on the daily. We got it. I gotta link up with BK here soon, honestly. But no, everybody over there. So please, please, please. If I know a lot of y'all in here are already subscribed up to TSU, Texas Sports Unfiltered, but please, make sure you go over there and show them some Longhorn love. And make sure you hit the like button, like he said. Hit the like button. We got to get the likes up in here. Where were we? Y'all want to talk about Bo Davis now?
Yes.
Are we ready
Sis,
for
you
that
go ahead. I
conversation?
got you.
All right, I want to get something off my chest.
Go ahead, bro. Let's get it off. Let's go.
I understand he went to his alma mater. I understand the emotional tie there in Louisiana and all the things that went down. I think the biggest L we've had, because I've said this all the time. I love Sark. I love everything that's going on. I've sung the praises, but we got to keep it a buck. That doesn't mean things are perfect. And where I feel as though the biggest L we've taken in this offseason is losing Bo Davis. And not just for the defensive line, not just for what he's done for Sweat and Murphy, but now that's somebody we're going to have to also go against from a recruiting standpoint of the story he's spinning. And I know the allegations were up against Bo Davis in terms of signing that 5-star guy, that big time guy. Well, now they're doing it at LSU, and that's a problem. And from a culture standpoint, I don't know if I've talked about this enough on the channel. He fulfilled a role that was desperately needed on the staff in terms of we needed a bad cop in the locker room. Sometimes you need the person that a lot of people don't like him, but they fear him.
Yeah.
And to me, that was Bo. And so I have questions. I'm not saying I don't know Kenny Baker, right? But the timing of it wasn't great.
At all.
It impacted us in recruiting in multiple classes. And when you look at the question marks, when you lose coming off a year where you had arguably the best interior defensive line play in the country, there's a lot of questions going into the SEC year one for me. That even leads me into roster management, if we're being honest, where my questions are. Again, I don't know. I don't know what I don't know about Kenny Baker. I mean, they did the best they could. They scrambled. We know that wasn't their number one pick after Bo left, but that doesn't mean he's not qualified and can't come in and do a great job. Early signs are that he's a genuine dude, and reminds me a little bit of Chris Jackson when he came in for Brennan Marion. But the timing of this is concerning for me in terms of that group. What say you guys in terms of Bo Davis?
Tim, you want to go first?
You can go first.
Man, I agree with my boy Slick Vic. What's up, Victor?
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
It's
Slick Vic in there.
it was McKinney flipping to LSU and then Bo all of a sudden taking the LSU job. And man, I don't know. Then he had the Texas staff from what we was reading. Yeah, I'm coming back. I'm coming back, and then all of a sudden leave. Now the timing looked a little fishy too. I think Nansen they got the co-DC title, and I don't know if that has something to do with it. Bo was a little mad about that. I don't know. And like you said, he had a chance to go back to his alma mater, but man, I think Bo. We all know Bo struggled in recruiting, but I think this year because of you're gonna have 2 D tackles get drafted in the top 2 rounds, bro. It was gonna be real easy for Bo to sit in parents' living room and just point to his accolades, and he ain't got to really recruit nothing. Oh, come bring your son to me. I'm gonna turn him into a first round draft pick. Guys, that makes it a lot easy when you can do that and when you can say that. In year 4, I think Bo was finna land some monsters. What's that kid from Florida? What's his name?
DeAndre Robinson.
No, the
DeAndre Robinson.
Brown kid. The Brown kid. The one we
Oh,
got
was
now,
it
the 2024 kid.
was it Brandon? Was it Brandon Brown? Is
Is
that
it
his
Brandon
name?
Brown?
Yeah, the defensive tackle from Florida. Yeah.
That kid, boy, I don't even want to talk about him. That kid tape is off the chain. He's
Yeah.
I saw his tape. I was like, oh my goodness. He destroying the offensive linemen. And I'm like, dang, Bo pulled him and the kid didn't even come. I don't think he visited. They just went to talk to him. He committed to Texas without even taking a visit. You know why, guys? Because he like, think about it. He's looking like, oh, Bo Davis got Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy going up. I want to go be a part of that.
Mhm.
It's an easy sale. But now, as Steve rightly said, even though I do believe Kenny Baker's a good hire, highly recommended by a lot of coaches. I believe he got the ability to be the next Bo Davis, to be the next Larry Johnson, to be the next guy. And I'm glad Texas went there. But it kind of put him behind the eight ball. You know what I'm saying? He got to go. Now, I mean, Bo had these relationships developed and he built these relationships when he got to Texas 3 years ago. So he knew most of these kids. He had been working up to this moment.
Good
All he had
point.
to do was push the button, say, hey, man, come on, be part of this, what we're building here in Texas. Now that he's gone, you put Kenny Baker in this situation, he got to go put out fires. Like what? Melvin Hills, for example. He
Hmm.
got he got to go out here and re-recruit Melvin Hills.
You got to re-recruit a guy that's already
That's
signed with
already
you.
committed to
Like,
him. And that to me, what that hurt. But like Steve say, we when things are going good, you always got to expect a little something bad to happen. And one of the things of going to going to the college football playoff, guys, is losing coaches. That's going to happen. So I hope Sark's got a Rolodex for every position coach we have. He should have at least 5 coaches waiting because people going to go after Flood. Y'all know that. People going to go after Choice. Y'all know that. People are going to go at. Well, I ain't even going to say the DBs.
Look,
Nobody.
it's still look, I
wow.
know I know Michigan
These
fan
are
is
hot
over
takes,
here.
baby.
I know Michigan fan is over here like y'all are crying about your D line coach. We lost Harbaugh.
Yeah, that's
Alabama
true.
fans like we lost Saban. Washington fans like we lost DeBoer and Grubb. Cry me a river, right? So it's like
we
I know
we
we do sound a little
we are
spoiled right
blessed.
now.
We
We
are
are
blessed, like you say. We are blessed because a lot of teams got raped and murdered. and but I will say this: it's going to happen, and for Sark to, which I think he can do, to be that elite coach, is consistently do it year in year out. And every time you lose a coach, Simp pointed out earlier, when you winning, it's a lot easier to go get the best coaches in America. When when you're on that hot seat, it's hard to get a good coach. So long as he upgrade, he could just keep upgrading guys. Saban was the best at it. Saban never had the same staff, and he kept winning because his culture was in place.
Mhm.
Once that culture's in place, it's almost on autopilot. So I think we're gonna be fine. I said all that long-winded stuff to say I believe Kenny Baker is going to come out and he's going to do his thing, and he might be a better recruiter. That's a real big possibility because, like I say, Bo was a great developer, but he was okay recruiter. But I think Kenny Baker being in the NFL, you don't go to the NFL if you can't
Exactly.
develop talent, guys. Because you
Mhm.
can't recruit in the NFL.
Yeah.
You are strictly judged on your development of players. Kenny Baker was at the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins had a pretty good defense this year. They was top 10 total defense. So he's just not no bum. And I saw Texas real quick ranting up through Sim. I saw
You're good.
Longhorn Nation going off. Who is this guy? Oh, wait a minute, this and that. And I'm like, I'm sitting there watching. I say, you guys don't even know. I said, I asked one guy, Steve. I says, he just going off. I said, hey man, how many D line coaches you know? Person. I mean, I'm talking about. Do you know their names? He named 2 people. I said, that's what I figured. I said, man, I said, I don't even study D-line coaches like that for me to say, oh, that's a bad hire. It's not like I know 20-something different D-line coaches. I just know a certain few D-line coaches, but I think that's what a lot of the Texas fans get caught up in the hoopla. We always got to get a big name. We like to rehash the same coaches over and over and over again. And then when we hear a new name, we're like, man, who was this guy?
Especially a name we're not familiar with.
Especially
Mhm.
a
I mean,
name we're
that
not familiar
happened
with.
with PK, right?
Thank you.
Like people that didn't watch Pac-12 ball and didn't know Pete Kwiatkowski were like, "Well, who's that?" Like we remember when we were looking for DCs, and that was a while that we went about that search. Some of the names that got thrown out there,
Mhm.
um, football people were like, "Yeah, PK would be an awesome hire if y'all could pull him."
Exactly.
Remember that?
I
Football
remember that.
people said
Hey,
that,
hey,
but fans,
and the Washington fans was mad.
they
The
were
Washington fans was
furious.
mad. Yeah.
Yeah. I think too when you look at BK said here Bo Davis has even in the
Commitment
league Bo
issues.
Davis, yeah, he's bounced around even in the league, he hasn't stayed
He sure
anywhere.
hasn't.
And like you said, that's also a function of how you navigate these things. I just real quick before I get to Chris, we saw that story, an illustration. Both of Sark's mentors retired, or not retired, but Pete Carroll obviously has stepped aside. I don't know what his role is going to be. If he's more of a consigliere now with the Seahawks, obviously Nick Saban is definitely more of a consigliere role with Alabama. But those are the two people he learned from. The two great, you know, and one thing, like you said, they both had this in common was coaching turnover. And Sark understands that. I will say this with Kenny Baker, if he can come in here and I start hearing the same things I heard about Chris Jackson from some of like the trainers and people that are really out there with these kids, then I'm straight.
Yeah.
Because what I heard with Chris Jackson was, hey, I may not know this whole recruiting circuit and how to play the game and say all the right things, but I'm genuine and I love football. And and he started texting kids just like, hey, I was just watching your tape. Just here's a couple notes to work on your technique. That's what NFL coaches do because they're constantly
Yeah.
refining things. If
Mhm.
Kenny Baker's coming in like that and he's just like, hey, just connected, just hey, there's some hand placement type stuff you might want to work on, and we start building that relationship, kids will always gravitate to the people that are genuine, that they
Yeah.
know have their best interests. So I think that's the most important thing. What say you, Chris, as we wrap up the coaching topic before we get into some more roster management stuff?
I'll be super quick 'cause I know we're kind of stretched on time. I kind of messed us up with the secondary talk a little bit. But to get back
No,
on
that
the
was good
DB,
stuff.
to get back
Yeah.
on the Bo Davis thing, man, I think that Bo Davis, this situation kind of reminds me of like when you're dating at times, you're with somebody for a while, let's say you break up, you're going to try it a second time, I mean, you're really in love. And you think to yourself, man, if this doesn't happen the second time, can you see a third time here? Whenever I was hearing all this talk of Bo leaving, I was just like, man, I hope whatever reason that he's leaving, let's get this figured out. I wasn't mad at this is Texas. We're winning. Like I said earlier on, a little while ago, that when you're winning, it's going to be easier to get a good coach. I knew we would get a good replacement, but I wanted to keep Bo really, really bad. But I mean, we're not in that room. We don't know how if him and PK are having problems. We don't know. We don't know. I mean, he's going back to his alma mater. That's fine. To the Texas fans that were tripping out about Kenny Baker hire, if you look at Bo Davis's bio, basically the first time whenever he was at he got picked up by Saban at LSU, he was a defensive assistant, defensive line coach in the NFL, and Saban brought him in. So I mean, it's just like it doesn't have to be a name. And like Vashawn said, how many defensive line coaches can you name? I can name a bunch of quarterback coaches in college. I can name a bunch of receiver coaches in college. I can name more than two, like old guy did. But I mean, it's just like we just got to trust the process, man. I hate to sound
Hmm.
like Saban, but we really got to trust the process. Christian Wilkins, defensive lineman for the Dolphins, former Clemson star, endorses him. His players there in the NFL endorse him. So I like what Michigan did once, like Harbaugh did a whole washing of his coaching staff and he got younger. I like the fact that we're getting younger at that position.
Good
Obviously, if
point.
Larry Johnson Sr. wanted to leave Ohio State and come down, yes, you make room for him. Yeah, you're an older guy, old school, but OG, you come in here. But same time, man, we got to go new. That's what Michigan did. Now his defensive coordinator is a head coach in NFL. I mean, Harbaugh's defensive coordinator. So, I mean, let's go young, man. Let's go young. Let's go energy. These young players that are, the younger coaches, they know the lingo. They know what's going on. They know how to communicate with these kids and better than these old school guys. So I'm happy with the hire. So
It's funny. I'm looking at John Wayne's comment here about I prefer my coaches to come from the NFL. And if you look at our coaching staff right now, Steve Sarkisian, obviously former offensive coordinator in the NFL experience. Um, you know, Kyle Flood was with the Falcons as well.
Yep.
Who else?
Choice, huh?
Chris
Choice.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Choice,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
Chris Jackson was with the Jacksonville Jaguars as their receiver coach when they went to the divisional round or whatever. And then, now we bring on Kenny Baker, who was, Miami Dolphins. So that's a ton on both sides of the ball, right? And, go ahead, Bashan.
No, I'm sorry, man. I'm bad about that. Underrated hire, guys. That might be an answer to our secondary issues. A guy that played for Mike Tomlin, a guy that played for Dick LeBeau, guy that played the NFL. What he played 10 years, Steve?
yeah,
Is it Willie Gay?
Willie Gay.
Analyst hire? Watch out for that. It's kind of like Steve, when your boss hire your replacement. Hey man, who's this guy? No, I'm just kidding. But real talk, I think Sark has a particular type, and if Sark can redo his coaches again, he would probably go all NFL guys because it seems that's what Sark likes because he knows NFL is development first. NFL is development first. Sark know him and Banks are the rainmaking recruiters anyway. He can teach you
Right.
how to recruit. They're gonna teach you the school.
Right.
Texas
Between
brand
Banks and
recruits itself. Texas brand recruits itself. If you hire a developer, the results are going to be on the field, and then you can sit in any kid's living room and tell them to come to Texas. The brand is going to get there, especially with the NIL Texas offer. That's a simple deal. And I really believe if some guys don't step it up, so I'm gonna have some more NFL guys next year.
Yeah.
It's interesting too. We talk about the guys that have been developed in that room, in that interior defensive line room. I mean, even Ojimo and Coburn got drafted last year, where coming into the season, they probably weren't draftable prospects. A lot of fans had moved on from those, and those guys both of them end up getting drafted. We taken a step further with Sweat and Murphy. And look, the work they did with Vernon Broughton to me was not a playable player a couple years ago. Just wasn't ready to play football. Alfred Collins had been inconsistent, had been dealing with injuries, all these type of things. Alfred was one of our highest graded players in the Sugar Bowl against Washington. He played really good. Vernon Broughton was already a rotational guy where I no longer felt uncomfortable with him being on the field. I actually saw him making plays, right? And so it's not like we're not destitute heading into next year. Obviously we got to get Sadir into shape and some of those, some of the younger guys, but that is going to be the question mark. A lot of people are going to be asking because you're also pairing that with some new linebackers that are going to be playing behind those guys too. So that whole middle of the defense is something I think a lot of people are going to be paying very close attention to starting in spring ball, quite frankly. Roster wise, I have some questions for you guys.
Okay.
Roster management. So let's go back to the offense. Everybody wants to talk about Quinn and Arch in the quarterback room and all these type of things. I think a rational Texas fan is looking at this as Quinn Ewers, year 3 under Steve Sarkisian, what Steve Sarkisian has historically done with third year quarterbacks, he cooks. They cook, they go to the league. I think that's what we're looking at here. I don't think it's going to be anything deeper than that. I think the real conversation with the Texas passing game is going to be the integration of the new receivers. He's going to be throwing to a new core. Now, they've done a stellar job in the portal, and they've done a stellar job, in my opinion, in recruiting and the talent in that room. I want to hear from you guys. How do you, just your overall thoughts on the Texas passing game next year, right? And what your expectations are going to be from Quinn and that group that's Sarkaz. Either of you can take that one.
Sam, go ahead, Sam.
Okay. Um, I like it. I like what the way the offseason went. Um, I like the fact. Okay, so I got a statement, and it's about the receiving room because we got 3 receivers in the portal, obviously. But it's so weird during NIL and everything, and this has to do with Bond from Alabama. All right, everybody's just like, Texas is tampering. I mean, it's just so when NIL first started and Jared Verse is out there, basically we go after him and they're like, oh, he already knows where he's going. Texas is on top of everything now. As soon as I love the way strategically when guys hit the portal, like we already had a visit.
Mm-hmm.
Sark has figured everything out with this. Um, I would have liked to see Quinn have a 6'3", 6'4" Plaxico Burris receiver like AD Mitchell was this year for him, because a big receiver like that makes up for a lot of your mistakes. But same time though, I just like the speed that we have out there. I think Chris Jackson is going to turn Matt Golden into a amazing route runner. We saw him. I always thought he was good at Houston. I wanted us to get him the first time, but it's just like I saw him play. I mean, he rounded a lot of routes. Um,
Just raw. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's just raw, big time. And I think he was just literally one really good coach away. This is a big year for Quinn in our passing game, man. I think that one thing I like about Sark is that everyone thinks they know Sark. I hear Texas fans online talking about the Keelan Robinson role. They talk about Nyblock being like Jatavian Sanders. And a narrative I've heard is that Sark only sticks to 3 receivers and that's it. I disagree with that. If you look at Sark's time, there were times at USC where he played more than 2 or 3 receivers. Just look at the stats. If you want to Google or anything, or look at those programs from back then, look at the stats. There's 3, 4, and 5 wide receivers. When you have guys that you trust, that's when you sub in. He didn't have the guys that he trusted besides the top 3 that we had this year. Now that you add the Golden, Bolden, Bond, and Tajante Cook, you're going to see 4 guys cook like you saw at Alabama that year, like big time. The thing I like about Sark doesn't he adjusts his offense on what his talent is. Tom Herman for the longest time was trying to find that guy to replace Little Jordan Humphrey from the great year they had in 2018. And it's just
Good
like
point.
when the whole time, you had a guy like I would have thrown Devin Duvernay in the slot the whole time and let Little Jordan make his money, always inside and outside. But it's like the versatility that Sark has as a coach. Like there's no set way. We might not see a Keelan Robinson type role. We might see Bolden get used like Jalen. What's the kid's name from Bama that got hurt? Jalen
Jalen
Waddell.
Waddle.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, literally. I mean, it's just there's no. I mean, there's. I wonder who's going to be the number 1 receiver on this. I mean, you just don't know who's going to be. I've heard, oh, it's going to be, was it Bolden or not Bolden? It's going to be Bond. But then I'm hearing that Matthew Golden is catching everything, that he's looking amazing. So, like I said, there's no set way. There is no it's going to be like, who knows? Like who you can normally beginning of the year project who's going to be your 1,000-yard receiver, who's going to lead you in touchdowns. We all knew AD Mitchell was going to lead the team in touchdowns, and we knew that Worthy was going to have the most targets at him. But I mean, this year I really don't know going into it, and that's what could be the magic of this season for us.
I think it's still paired too with the growth of Quinn and how
Mhm.
well he's, that they go hand in hand. I think if we were more further along with the quarterback in terms of progressions and all these type of things, and also like the team, like you said, yeah, maybe he can play with some more receivers and get them some more snaps. So people question the receiver thing, Chris, because we haven't seen that at Texas yet, and until we see it at Texas, it's kind of like Sark has his guys, and that's who's going to play. God forbid injury. And that's the other thing too. We've been blessed with health. Last year we didn't. Jay Witt stayed healthy. Ad Mitchell stayed healthy. Worthy was banged up, but he played every week.
Yeah.
So you never were like, there was never a game like we lost Quinn for a couple weeks. There was never a time where we lost Worthy for like 3 weeks and John Tay had to play. And you got to see, like most years in football, you're going to lose some people. And some of the young guys don't have a choice. Like we saw at running back at the end of the season. They didn't have a choice. Jaden Blue had to play. Cedric Baxter had to play. So I'm curious to see, married with health, God willing, hopefully we have the same blessings of health that we've had the last couple years. But the reality is sometimes the injury bug's going to hit and you're going to need to lean on more guys. I do like the fact, though, that I think they're going to be more yak type guys. One thing you remember, those Jalen Waddle teams, the Devontae Smith teams, the Fast and Furious brother that's no longer with us.
Henry Ruggs.
They were guys that could catch a bubble. They were guys that could catch a slant and take it to the house. We spend so much time talking about the deep ball at this. And look, everybody, I'm with y'all. I want to hit on deep ball. It's the sexiest play in football. But the reality is, with your personnel, Matthew Golden has kick return abilities. Those are people that can catch a slant and go. We're not waiting. How many people did we have on the field legitimately that could catch a slant and make Worthy, right? Like no disrespect to AD Mitchell or anybody like that. I mean, that's not their skill set. So this group here, to Chris's point, building around skill sets, right? Nyblack is going to be more of a yak type tight end. Okay. He's not, I don't expect him to catch scene where he's getting blown up by a safety and the corner come in the back and he still can catch a ball like this. Jatavian Sanders is like, he's kind of one of one when it comes to catching balls like that. But what I did see Nyblack do is, break some tackles and be more of like a Jake Ferguson type, and be that type of person at Alabama. So just personnel wise, something to consider.
Well, be honest with you, to me, I don't think the offense is going to miss a beat. And I'm going to tell you why.
I like it.
Two keys to it, just in my opinion. Keys for a team that have a good offense. Number one is a quarterback, a returning quarterback at that. Number two is a good offensive line. We're bringing back 4 starters, and we possibly could even get better at offensive line. I mean, Cam Williams is already, and that, I don't even know if Cam Williams is going to start, but people are saying Cam Williams.
Expect him to start.
Yeah, people saying Cam Williams could be a draft pick next year. I mean, that's the type of hype that you're hearing, and some scouts had to say that to let them know that. So, if you got a good offensive line and a quarterback that knows the offense and can pull the trigger, and we haven't seen a quarterback in year 4 or year 3 of Sark's system yet. We've seen them year 1, not that good. Year 2, just keep going up. Now we got a quarterback in year 3 in Sark's system, plus a good offensive line.
Great offensive line. I'm going to say
we
great.
We are going up against better D-line talent going into the SEC, facing Georgia and whoever else. I understand that. But back to my point, that offensive line is going to make the running back's job easier. That offensive line is going to even make those wide receivers' job easier because they're going to allow Quinn to have all the time he wants, and he can just sit back there and make easy throws. Who's going to start? I don't know. I'm not even going to get into that. I do believe Jonte Cook. I saw somebody earlier say about Jonte Cook. Cook might start. I don't know, and I believe he will. But all I'm saying is this: get the guys on campus, and let's figure it out in the fall and in the spring and in the fall. We got the guys on campus, and I love the nine block pickup. I love that. That we needed that. We're 12. We use 12 personnel quite a lot.
Sark will
So
always use 12
he
personnel.
will
He will never
always
go away
use it.
from it. He will always use
Exactly.
12 personnel.
So you need two tight ends, man, and that dude, he's nice, man. So I don't. I'll be honest with you, I really don't think they're gonna miss a beat. And that running back room, Choice had, man, Choice stacked that room so nice, man. And as you guys see, man, Jaden Blue been riding the bench all year. Then the last couple games, we're like, whoa, which I knew, but I'm just saying, I think we're gonna be fine on offense. I really do, man.
It's interesting you bring up the running backs too, because to me, that's kind of where I was going with the receivers. The difference is the receivers, the young guys didn't get an opportunity to play at the end of the year like the running backs did. And
Yeah.
because the running backs got to play, we lost arguably, depending on what draft sites you're looking at, most scouts have Jonathan Brooks as RB1. We
Mhm.
lost RB1 in the draft
Yeah,
for a second consecutive year, and nobody has any questions about the running backs because we saw them finish the year.
that's right.
Hmm.
No,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Hmm.
Think about that from a college football perspective. We lost RB1 to the draft, and nobody has any questions about the runners.
that's crazy.
The
Yeah.
only difference with the receivers is that they have not been validated yet on the field. But that does not to say, and that's why I'm saying this is a big spring for those brothers, because some of the transfers coming in, like Osiris Bolden, because of their school schedule and transfer stuff, some of those guys aren't going to be able to come in until the summer. Look, go get yours in the spring. Leave no doubt. Y'all been in the system for a year now. It's not
Yeah,
like y'all are freshmen.
yeah,
Yeah.
Freshmen, you know what I mean? So Jonte, DeAndre Moore, Ryan Niblett, like, just because your name may not be at the front of the line with the more established players that, and I get it. Those guys didn't get in the portal to come and sit behind people. Totally get it. But at the same token, y'all were 5-star. Some of y'all were 5-star recruits, high 4-star recruits,
Mhm.
sub 10, 500 guys. Go
Yeah.
ball. Go
Yeah.
ball. Like don't don't wait on people. Because some
Yeah.
of y'all are gonna get snaps in the spring because they're waiting on some people coming in the summer. So make
Yeah.
it interesting.
Get a head start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drew said, I got questions, Steve. Uh-oh. What are your questions, Drew? Talk to me. We'll talk back. Um, talk to me. You say you got questions. And while I'm waiting for Drew to ask his question, the options they have is the most important thing. I'm glad you touched on the offensive line because that makes this all possible.
yeah,
Even Cam Williams. This is why I'm so confident in Cam Williams. He started a game last year.
and
He
look
had to
good.
play
Yeah.
and he looked
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, he
So
looked
it's
fine. Yeah,
like it's
mm.
not like we're starting from scratch there either. That guy's been itching to play. So the fact that he started a whole game in the season where we had no
Against a
margin
good
for
team.
error.
K
Yeah.
State was a good team
Yeah.
Yeah.
with the backup quarterback,
With the
and they
backup.
knew just the kicker though, Steve. K State knew we had to run the ball, and we still ran the ball.
Yeah.
They knew we was going to
And
run it because we had a backup quarterback. Still ran it. Cam had a bunch of pancakes that game too. That's why I say I
man,
think
one
we're
thing,
gonna be fine, man. That offensive line, everything goes easy when that offensive line is working.
man, that right side of that offensive line potentially with Cam and Campbell. And I read something the other day with Devin Campbell that he basically is just like, I mean, and that's what I like about this 22 offensive line class the most. I mean, they iron sharpens iron. There's competition, but Campbell's made a comment about wanting to get himself ready. And I don't want to quote him because I mean I don't have the exact quote, but like I feel like there's competition in that room. I think when he sees Banks getting all that shine, he's happy for Banks. But I think Campbell's ready potentially make himself a 3-and-out type of person too. And whether he does or not, the fact that you have that competition, you have the iron sharpening iron, you have guys wanting to get better. They're not just like, okay, let me get good enough to start here and let's see where we are. No, man. Like these, I mean, he's not jealous of Banks, but I mean, he was ranked slightly higher than Banks. Like he wants to justify and prove why he's out there, man. I think our right side of our offensive line has a chance to be just so dominant. Like when you have Cam and you have Devin Campbell, those are two of the nastiest guys that you have in college football on that right
Bad
side of the ball.
attitude guys. I love it.
Yeah, like we had to stop Devin Campbell on that first or that second drive against Washington once we got into the red zone because I guess Quinn got a late hit. Campbell was ready to fight everybody over there. Like we haven't had that on offensive line in a long time, man. Like I'm so excited for that.
So Drew said we have no questions about the RB room, but I'm still bitter those freshmen both fumbled against Washington. We are good though for real, bro. Listen to what you just said. Freshmen, right?
Yep.
Freshmen, and I'm not. That's not to excuse the fumbles, but we got to keep the same energy. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is they got us to that game
Yeah.
without
Yep.
fumbling. I
Yep.
watched them play against Iowa State in the cold. They didn't
Yeah.
fumble. I watched them play in a championship game. They didn't fumble. Okay. And we also need to keep the same energy within the Washington game because I could argue they were our two best offensive players,
Yep.
even with the fumbles.
Mm-hmm.
Dude was
Yeah.
making catches down the sideline. That's the
Yeah.
other thing. Jaden Blue, I'm sorry, I'm raising my voice, but I like the fact that neither of them, they didn't fall off a cliff after they lost the football either.
No.
And that's been a thing at Texas. And that's why as fans, I know it happened in a big game, but we linger sometimes too much on those plays where these are learning moments for them too. And it's like, look, the biggest thing is what was your mentality after it happened when there
Mhm.
was still so much clock left? It wasn't the end of the game, right? We weren't dead. You came back and were converting third downs and still doing your thing. Same thing with Baxter before he got banged up a little bit. So
Mhm.
to me, I'm actually encouraged by that. You don't think that they think about those fumbles going into the offseason? You don't think that Tashard Choice is going to remind them of those things? You know how Choice is. He was already on their ass in practice about dropping the ball. So
Mhm.
unless I'm only going to emphasize this if it becomes a real thing. But look, these backs aren't perfect. I mean, Bijan fumbled at the end of a Tech game in overtime and we lost.
Yeah.
Right? Like that was the best player we've had in the last 10 years at this program. So it happens. They were competing. And damn it, we are not in the Washington game if not for them. Both
Yeah.
of
Exactly.
them. So
Like I said earlier, I think they were literally in that second half because they didn't get the ball enough in the first half. Every time they touched the ball in the first half, those brothers were getting first downs. And I felt once we got down 2 scores, they were trying to make the home run play instead of getting your 8 and 10 yards and let's give the ball back to the referee and let's get back and do this again. That was the mindset is let me help save my team. I mean, it's selfish, but it's not a bad selfish. It's just that's a teaching moment. And you saw Choice on the sideline. That was the cool thing that I like when I saw Coach Choice. I mean, a fierce face, fierce look, but the excitement, like, come on, baby, like we still got you. Let's go. Let's ride. Come on. I mean, Baxter fumbled first and Blue right behind him. Literally, the look on Jaden Blue's face, I was just like, "Oh, we lost this kid." But no,
Yeah.
man, that catch on that sideline, and what's so funny? So I'm a big, and at the beginning of the year, I'll admit when I'm wrong, I was really worried about Sark with his game management as our head coach and offensive coordinator. And it seems like, and I've said this to you, Steve, about a dozen times, it seems like he's always in the book. He doesn't see what's going on out there. He doesn't see everything. Man, I've watched that game like 4 or 5 times since the bowl game, and like when Jaden Blue made that catch on the sideline, got his feet in, like I was afraid that we weren't gonna get the next play call in because Sark was celebrating so hard. You could see the moral victory of Blue keeping his head in the game and not getting down because of the fumble
100%.
earlier on. And then I saw Sark, Sark was literally fired up. Like he saw the play. He's like, cool. They're going to review it, but I saw it with my 2 eyes. That was an amazing catch. I've never seen an offensive coordinator on the sideline like that. They're always ready to get literally ready for the next play. I mean, I didn't, like I said, like I wish we could have ran the ball a lot more, but I mean, I like the way Sark is evolving as a coach. I like the way Sark is evolving as a leader. And one thing that we didn't get a chance to really, I didn't really get a chance to say about this game is that previous times, especially on offense, Texas gets down like that. The defense is messing up. Bro, I've seen it in the '90s with James Brown and those guys in those bowl games where they got blown out. We've seen it a bunch of times. Man, this team never fought, man. And Sark talks about being accountable for each other, and having that special accountability for your team. Like, I don't like moral victories. That's very Aggie. But man, I was so proud of that football team that they did not give up. Like when you're throwing for the win, the last play. I mean, Texas had no business being in that game. And the reason why they were in that game is because they did not give up. The offense stayed on it. Quinn stayed on it. No matter what you think about Quinn Ewers as a leader. I mean, think of the Baylor game last year when everybody's criticizing Quinn for having a few choice words with his offensive line, and look at the fourth quarter, the second half of that bowl game. Our leader's done at least a 150 out of a 180. I mean, when we do the total 180, you're going to know that Quinn's there. But I mean, our future's bright. It starts with the quarterback, like one of the guys says. But I mean, our future's so bright, man. I mean, I'm going to start doing these lives with our shades that our future's so bright, man. I'm telling you, I'm really excited. Really excited.
Well, I mean, in the like Odd Future mirrored exactly what you just said, Chris, about
Mm.
coach choice on the sideline. I've always said one of the things I don't like with coaches, this is not related to Texas, but we're not going to play a young guy because we're so scared he might fumble. But then you like manifest that into the player anyway. And then when
Mhm.
you really need him, like he could be super instead of working with them. And I've always said like, and this is basketball too. Sometimes they need to get out there and have it, feel it, and make that mistake or whatever for them to move forward in their development. Versus every single time, like I never wanted Jaden Blue to get in the game and be more worried about ball security than he is about breaking one and doing his natural abilities because he will not run like he's supposed to and then he's ineffective. I don't want that. Yes, your technique is your ball security. You know how you're supposed to hold the football. And if you work on that enough, you'll be fine. But and as long as you're not doing dumb stuff in traffic trying to extend the ball and there's things like that too. But turnovers happen in football, right? I mean, Quinn throws, he's had picks. We took some sacks, had turnovers on downs. I mean, stuff happens, but just the mentality, that should be, you can build off of off season like that, right? I mean, especially taking that energy into a new conference, guys stepping up, wanting to develop. I mean, I just don't want to be in this game of every single time somebody's name comes up, we have to mention a fumble. That's
Yeah.
not fair. As a come on. I mean, we like at some point it's like if we want them to move on, we have to move on too. It hurt, yes,
Mm.
but we lost the game in a myriad of ways. Okay, let's not forget that this brother set a bowl record for throws and was not touched by our people. Okay, so we want to talk about why we lost the game. There's a lot we
Yeah.
can go into
It's
on
a
it.
lot to go into.
There's a lot to go into. It's a team
It's
sport.
a group effort. The L was a group effort,
Including the staff. Including
excluding the staff.
there's things in that game that they want back.
Yeah.
Okay, including the staff. So just to well, we can move off of that one. Last thing for you guys, NFL draft. Another time for us to be excited as Texas fans. All these guys, Worthy and Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat. And I saw a tweet today about Jatavian Sanders inching closer and closer to Brock Bowers in the tight end rankings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Christian Jones's performance at the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, just handling his
Mm.
business, flying up the boards. I look as a Texas fan growing up, man, draft season was the second season for us because it was always our guys. And
Yeah.
it's always a delight to see when the scouting community or the draft community that doesn't really follow college football that closely during the season, when they get their hands on all the tape and it's objective eyes and you hear them start to get giddy over, and it validates what we saw.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It
yeah, most
really
definitely.
does. When you start to hear guys in that community, like, dude, do you see how number 90 uses his hands? Or do you see number, like, like,
Yeah,
that's where I'm like, man, this is a cool part. I can't wait to see the draft. This is the most excited I've been about the draft process as a Texas fan. Um, in over a decade, even more so, even last year. And we had Bijan as a first round pick, but collectively, so excited for this group. And I can't wait to see where our guys end up. I mean, some of the mock draft, things. And look, Jonathan Brooks, he's gonna go. He's gonna go in the first 3 rounds.
yeah.
I don't care about the knee. Okay,
Mhm.
and teams are already telling you they don't care about, in
They
terms
don't
of.
care about that anymore. I was telling
Mm-mm.
some guys that like that the ACL stuff. People like, oh man, he need to come back, and I'm like, you only. I mean, if he comes back, I mean, it's already a loaded room anyway, running back room.
Right.
But nah, teams are not scared of that, man.
No.
They draft guys in the first round now with torn ACL. We didn't seen it with the Ohio State receiver, Alabama receivers. Uh, but just talking about the players getting drafted, man, this is it's a beautiful thing. I'm happy for the players. It brings a great light to the program, to the university, to Sark's, you know, his his staff's ability to develop the players, and that's always been the knock against Texas. Texas has always have gotten 5-star recruits. That's nothing new for Texas. High 4-star recruits, nothing new for Texas. Where teams with negative recruiters at is they would just point to BJ Foster. Look at that 5-star. Look where is he at now? Or look at that 5-star one over there. He's going in the 6th round, or he's going undrafted. When other 5-stars and 4-stars or whatever, and I don't care about the ranking system for a fact. I'm just saying recruiting wise, when players see other players go there to another team, don't get drafted or go undrafted free agent, and another school like Alabama comes in and says, "Well, just look at our track record." It's hard to compete against that, guys.
Mhm.
And especially when you recruit in the trenches, don't get it twisted. Texas issues always been trenches. You know what I'm saying? So uh to have 8, possibly 9 guys, and I heard something the other day. I don't know how they were talking about maybe 10 or
Right.
11 if Jordan Whittington gets up in there. Man,
Ryan
it's
Watts potentially.
yeah, Ryan Watts. That's another one. Ryan Watts
Hmm.
potentially. Man, it could be. And I saw where Sark. Let me paint this picture for y'all. The draft is in April. Is it in April, Simps? Can you look that up real quick? I
Yeah.
think
It's
it's
like,
in
it's like,
April.
yeah.
When is the spring game?
$420.
April the 20th, right? April the 20th,
Yeah.
right? Is the draft before or after or during the same weekend?
I think it's after. It's always like that last week of
It's
April, I
always the
think.
last weekend.
Yeah.
Regardless of the point.
Yeah, the draft is April 25th to the 27th.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm expecting a loaded. I think it's a dead. It's a dead. I think they can't recruit somewhere in May. I believe. Guys,
Where they
come
have the
June,
dead period. Yeah.
there's a dead period. That's right. Come June, when we get those guys' names called, I expect a run on recruiting like we haven't seen in a long time. Since we got, remember that time we got uh the quarterback that's now at Alabama, when we recruited him with Herman, and he went on that
Yeah.
run,
Yeah.
Milrow. And we went on that run. We had like 2 or 3 recruits every week.
Yep.
That's just me thinking out loud, because I do believe the players getting developed and going into the NFL is only going to help the program going forward. And I used to, I couldn't stand when fans would root against our own players not going to the draft. You know, oh, I don't like him, so I don't like. It only hurts the program. But I love it, man.
I want to expound
Go
on your
ahead.
point, what you just said. And me and you had this conversation a couple of weeks ago on a Saturday also. Okay,
Mhm.
so there's two players that come out of a same high school. They're both defensive linemen. You know, a very prominent school in the Metroplex. Both defensive linemen. One goes to A&M, is the 5-star. One goes to Texas, is the high 3-star, potential 4-star that we get taken from Baylor. All right. I've had everybody tell me how in the SEC it just means so much. It means so much more, or redeveloped talent. We're this, we're that. Well, now that it's going to be 2024, our 3-star that went to Texas, Byron Murphy, is a projected top 10 or 15 pick in this draft, possibly the first defensive lineman to go. And I'm not throwing shade on kids. You know, I'm not. You know, I've told you that I don't criticize kids at all. Give your all, man. Thank you for playing. Thank you for giving us something to entertain. But Mister, what is it? Shamar Turner, his teammate from DeSoto, went to A&M, the big time guy. Isn't he coming back for another year?
No,
Yes,
he's in the draft.
he's in
He's
the
in the
draft.
draft.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Is
but
he
he
projected
didn't
higher
opt
than?
out of the bowl game. I think it was.
yeah,
Okay, but is he projected higher than like who did the better job in developing Texas or developing defensive tackles? Developed two players. Did Texas do better than A&M? Yeah, like we're developing players, man. Like we're developing players. You know, that should be enough. If you're a 5-star, 4-star, you should have trust no matter what star. If you're a 2-star, you should have trust that if Sark gets you on campus, you know, and if you work and you're talented enough, but you're willing to put in the work and listen to your coaches, you're gonna have your chance.
yeah,
Like literally, there's so many of us that wanted Shamar because we just saw his film and we didn't know a lot about Murphy. But I mean, after seeing Murphy on campus, like Vashawn, you were the first guy to before even the guys that cover this for a living were you were the first guy talking about Murphy. You're like, man, who's that 90? You know, I mean, I'm telling you, like you said earlier on, dude, it's all about you. When you get guys drafted, you get like these kids see that. These kids see
yeah,
that Murphy is going to go higher than Turner. So
yeah,
I mean, that's how you get these guys to come in.
Also, portal guys.
Yep.
As good as AD Mitchell was at Georgia, he didn't have the volume. He was good in the big games, but
yes,
he wasn't showcased. And so for AD Mitchell to be showcased the way he was, double digit touchdown season, no drops with the most catches, I think, in the conference, that was the type of consistency he had to show in terms of the next phase. And now there's talks of him, even as raw as he still is, I think that there's still so much to tap into with AD Mitchell. That's a guy that is going to be looked at the bottom of the first round or the top of the second, right? I mean, that's where a lot of these teams have him. Xavier Worthy did himself a solid with his toughness that he showed this season, but also showing he can, he's a very, very good punt returner. So the versatility he gives you on special teams, more and more teams are the Jordan Addisons of the world, the Zay Flowers of the world, these recent type of receivers that have gotten picked. Xavier Worthy fits in that mold. Jatavian Sanders. I know the Chargers are going to be looking for a tight end. The
yeah,
Chiefs might be looking for a tight end. Hello, right? Like these are some of those guys. All these teams that you see, the Green Bay Packers, how much they play 12 personnel, how much Houston Texans play 12 personnel. Those are easy homes where you could mock the Jatavian Sanders to and plug and play. That's what's exciting about, and they're ready to play. They're
yes,
ready to play. Um, what's his name? Ray Pickering, who was an analyst for us a few years ago. He said on the spaces all the time when we used to do Twitter spaces with Coach Pickering, he used to say, this offense, especially these offensive guys that are in Sark's system, it's tough early on. It's NFL stuff. But when you get to the league, you'll be able to download any offense that they're running in the league
That's why
because you
the
came from this offense.
the Bama receiver said as soon as he came here, they asked him why, and they're like, "Was it NIL?" And he said, "No, it was a business decision. The business decision is your NFL coaching you're getting while you're at Texas. That's the business decision." So
Phenomenal stuff, guys. I'm excited. Where can the people find you, Vashawn?
hey man, I'm just hanging out on Facebook, guys, and Unfiltered Texas Fanatics, moderators in both groups. You just hit me up if you DM me, whatever. Love to talk ball. It's my boy Simp, and I'm just a regular fan, just like everybody else, man. Got my opinions about the team. I bleed burn orange. I love the Longhorns, and like I say, I just like to chop it up. Hey, you see me at a game or something? Hey, come up, holler at me, man.
We're going to be at the spring game. So,
Yeah, we'll be there. We will be
yeah.
there. Hey, real quick, for I got to answer. I think his name was Cooking Company. He asked any questions. Cook, my only questions about the team is too deep. Are we going to be able to be too deep? I think we can put 22 starters out there. 11 on offense, 11 on defense. I'm not sure how deep we're going to be this year, but uh, that is my question mark. But we recruited well, and we just got through talking about our development. So that being said, we just don't know who them guys going to be yet in that too deep. And one of the things I think that got us to 12-2, we had issues closing out games the first 2 years. We got tired in the second half. We don't have that issue no more. And I believe Sark fixed that issue. He figured it out. Let me rotate my guys. And that rotation also allows your players in today's game, in this transfer portal age, NIL age, it allows you to keep guys happy. Because if you got a Malik Muhammad, if he don't play last year,
He's
or
gone.
Derek Williams don't play last year, you better believe LSU and other schools are in his ear. Hey, come play, man. You come start over here. No, man, I'm good. I got some NIL, and I've been playing in the 2 deep. It keeps players happy. And like Steve rightly stated, Vernon Broughton, Alpha Collins played a lot of ball last year, and they was on the 2 deep. So I feel confident about them. It's the other guys. Now we got to find who's going to back them up. We got the D tackle coming from Arizona. We got Sadir Mitchell. We haven't seen much of him. So that is the only concern I got. And, I think it'll be addressed though, but we'll see.
I'm worried about the nose and the middle linebacker, like
Yeah.
big time. I think we got three techniques. Like we're fine there. But I
Yeah.
mean, and everyone's talking, well, Sadir Mitchell, let's see if he's going to make the step. I mean, like we've said, the closer you are to the line of scrimmage, the harder it is to make an immediate impact for certain guys. Like he's just got to get his body in shape first. Is Aaron Bryant, is he going to make that next step? You know, and if we're playing, if like y'all said, if we're going to have a rotation of guys, that's your middle. Like who's going to replace Jalen Ford? Like,
Mhm.
it's honestly think, we're talking about 22 deep. I think we're 19 deep. I'm just like, those are two positions that I'm worried about big time. Uh, Other than that,
Yeah. And look, we have the freshman defensive player of the year in Anthony Hill, but he played, he got to play more of a rover type, see ball, hit ball. He wasn't
Mhm.
he wasn't really calling signals or anything like that,
and
right?
we're not,
So,
and if we're not going to move Muhammad, guys, like, and I was just trying to get the best five guys on the field. If we're not going to move Muhammad, we don't need to do the same thing with Hill. We don't need, even though Hill proved that he could play middle linebacker if he needed to. The one thing we were worried about was his lateral quickness. That guy is fine at that. But
oh, he's
same
fine.
time, like what LSU did with Harold Perkins, I'm not trying to change that up for Hill either. Then, so if that's the case, like we're going to need
You want
Leona
to find the
LaFau to step up.
person next to Hill.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. Yep. Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Well, we got options. The good thing is Jeff Choate left us with some good options. Leona
Oh, nice
Leifau,
options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Samaje Burrell, the guys we
Yeah.
haven't seen yet.
My
David
man
Benda's
Gillette.
back. So there's going to be a lot of different types of options, right? Who can communicate the best and who can do those hook curl zones and some of the things that Jalen Ford was very, very good at. And keeping us honest, not just against the run, but also against the pass, and is an effective blitzer. All three of those components are essential in this defense. So we'll see who plays next to Anthony Hill. All those, and we're going to continue speaking on this throughout the spring. This is not something that's going to go away because of the
Mhm.
conference we're going into. um, where we're going to be playing some physical. I mean, even Michigan, right? I mean, there's no secret what they're trying to do, right? When we go and play the defending national champions, right? We know how they're going to. Sharon Moore's the head coach now, is he not?
Mhm.
Offensive
Yep.
former offensive line coach,
Yeah.
OC. You know what he wants to do,
Right.
right? It's bully ball. He wants to play in a phone booth and he wants to beat you to death. And
Yeah.
so you got to have that down pat, right? Early in the season. But the cool thing is we're going to get tested too. We'll know right away. If y'all can hold up against that, you'll be fine. So it's
Somebody brought up
exciting.
Kenny Blackshear in the comments. I just don't know what he's going to be able to do being a full time linebacker, being on the field, because that guy. And one thing that if you followed our content on here, especially with Unfiltered or with Steven with Fanatic, me and Vashawn's talking about those linebackers like coming out of high school. You know, the size of the linebackers. You know, I think Blackshear is just. I mean, I think he's going to be great against the run, you know, and I hope he proves me wrong. I don't want to be right. I want to win. But same time, though, man, like I just think that it's going to have to be someone else that's going to be your 3 down linebacker. I don't see Blackshear being that guy. You know, teams are going to see him on the field, and man, they are going to go hurry up, you know, and throw. Even though the SEC isn't really that kind of league, you know, I mean, some teams are going to do that to us. So I'm just interested to see how. Like I said, that linebacker position. I think Darian Gillette. He's super fast. He's super athletic. I'm hearing that knee's better. And he was 225 coming out of high school, 230. I just hope that he doesn't get too big to where he needs to, even though he has a speed, I want him to be able to play that inside, that interior linebacker. I don't want him to have to move to the outside. I think that guy'd be great.
I need to see Gillette practice.
Yeah.
I need to see, I don't want to put anything for me out of everybody in that crew. And we know Anthony Hill was the headliner at that
Mm-hmm.
time, rightfully so, and he delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Gillette was my long-term pet cat out of that
Yeah.
whole crew because I
Mine,
saw him
mine
do
too.
things on field that high school linebackers shouldn't be doing. I saw
Yeah.
him covering people that he shouldn't.
Yep.
That guy was a maniac. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My thing though with these knee injuries, especially these young boys, some of them coming back, patience, patience, patience. I need to see you get through practice. I need you to see you trusting your knee. And as Sark says, we saw this with Nair, and I know that's a receiver, but it's a different position. Do you trust it every day? Because some of y'all coming back, you feel good. You feel like your old self on Monday practice, and by Wednesday practice, you're looking for treatment again, and you
Yeah.
can't stay out, and it swells up, or you have all these problems. I just need to see him consistently practicing. I don't care what group he's in.
Yeah.
If I can get through the spring with that, then I can start to say, okay, this is what we can add to. That's only in the case of Darian Gillette, because I'm with you, Chris. He has a skill set unique maybe to everybody else, but we got the knee. You know, I'm gonna have patience with that first. But there's options there for this room, and the Black Shear thing, good depth play, veteran. He can
Yes.
come in and he's a former Duncanville guy. He's going to be good vibes in the room.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's an old jag or not. Just being real.
Yeah.
He's got 1 year left of eligibility. We've, I always ask. I mean, we got Jalen Catalon when he was a skeleton of himself, right? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
those guys. You just kind of see what you got, right? But
Yeah.
I think the guys that are going to play, we already have. And the other thing too is like if it gets really real, then like Vashawn said, that next portal wave, you know what you need to go get.
Yep.
There's not
Mhm.
even a secret.
Yep.
Our starter might not be here yet, so we'll see. Folks, hit that like button, subscribe. I know we gave you a little overtime content there, so please enjoy it. I appreciate everybody that has tapped in, tuned in. Shout out to our brand new sponsor, Autograph. You guys that are Texas fanatics out here that are constantly consuming Texas content, why not get rewarded for it now? If you have an iPhone, go to the App Store right now. Download the Autograph app. Use the Fanatic 24 entry code. It is a free app to use. and go ahead and keep reading all the content, keep listening to all the content, and keep watching all the Texas content you already do. This time you get rewarded based on a point system. And the more points you earn, the more opportunities you have to access to discounted items, discounted featured things on the site, whether it's merch, tickets. We might have some March Madness opportunities coming up here. But last year they did this thing with Michigan. People were able to buy discounted Rose Bowl tickets. I'm talking about, bundles at a extremely discounted rate to where it's realistic for you and your family to go out to Pasadena and watch your team in the playoffs. Those are the type of cool things they're doing. Autograph, founded by Tom Brady. I'm really excited to be partnered with these guys. Check them out today. I want the Texas platform to grow. I want us to dominate Autograph because right now Michigan's dominating the app and they're getting rewarded. I want Texas to dominate the app so we get rewarded. So go over there and tune in. But Sean, Chris, brothers, as always, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all's time. Guys, horns always up. Hook 'em.
Cool.